Number 1. I want to read this first. Did I ask God if the person that I intended to be a friend with was the friend God was granting me? This means don't talk to somebody's soul and then think you're going to have a relationship with them. God asks you to be a friend for somebody, then you take that call. No, most of us have used that friend language without consultation with God or with the Trinity or how that works for you. Have you ever done that? You talk to somebody and they're a friend. You put that friend out there like, it's easy. But in Jesus' time, when you supped with somebody, that was a covenant of friendship that was whole and holy. It was not a relationship of comfort. It was not a relationship of covering who we are. It was holy of sort. Here you go. A friend is someone who you or I are in mutual relationship. Mutual means mutual. It doesn't mean daddy, mama, any of that other stuff. A mutual relationship that comes together is one that we're called to. If we're not mutually together, we're parenting probably. Are you with me? It's very difficult in this world if you have... My mom married my stepdad. He was only 13 years older than her. And it made a whole world of difference. My stepdad grew up with songs he loved that my mom loved 13 years later. It's like when you sit down to something. I have a couple 53-year-old people in my life right now, and we could talk about all the songs we knew. When the Bee Gees hit, and when we were discoing, and how this Nancy, you should see her doing. Mutual means that you come together and you are evenly yoked, is what the Bible says. Evenly yoked. You come together because you're spiritual. You come together because you're called into a commitment, and then you look at the mutuality of that, because you're going into a hard relationship if you've got a lot of spread of years. Yeah. It's very hard to have that mutual. Figure it out. If you're 53 years old and I get with someone 20, how can that be mutual? What if they haven't been a person of faith? I'm a pastor. Don't take that wrong. You know what I'm saying? Don't take that wrong. I just want to make sure that I know that you're my love of my life for 21 years. I know that. But in the reality of all that it is, I'm so much older, how can we be mutual? It's going to set up as a parent-child relationship. It is not going to set up as mutual. How many years have our community tried to do those big jumps? Well, he's only 30 years younger than me. I go, holy cow. Wonder what they're going to pick for their wedding. What music? So first of all, we have to start raising up mutual relationship. If you minister to somebody else, and I want you to hear, if you minister to somebody else, you may not get in relationship with them. That is a dang new rule. If you minister some way to somebody else, it ain't going to be someone you're sweet on. Unless you're willing to take the time to let that change so that it can be mutual. I'm hitting it hard today, but there's a reason. Secondly, a friend is one that knows how to meet their own needs without expecting you or I to be that for them. Yeah. They know what they need in their life to keep up on their feet. They know what they need to do. You don't have to go in there and tell them how to live. Amen. They know what they're capable of and not capable of. A friend is someone that can stand in that balance and not need you to balance them. A friend is one that knows that balance and what they need to do to stay spiritually fit so that they might live in this world. How many times do we look at our relationships? People say, geez, Gina, I really love your community, your church, but why are all the relationships so high school? I've heard parents say that. And I've stood up and I've said, well, some of us didn't do this in high school, so we kind of come out of that bubble, and the hip huggers and all that other stuff comes out because that's where our relationships really stop. But there's a time when that needs to change. You cannot help somebody else if you don't know what your own balance is. If you got an issue, you can't help somebody else if it's forefront in your head and you don't have it out of the way. you know what I felt like when I had two friends that are like this? I felt totally upside down and backwards. I could not figure out how to be in a friendship with friends that know what they need and can stay balanced. I'm a pastor. I got to do something. But after a while I started to realize when I left them, I knew they were going to be whole and fine and I didn't have to worry because they know how to take care of themselves. It's powerful. Friend is one that not only knows their balance, knows their limitations of what they can do. And a friend can say no. Amen. That doesn't become a yes. I'm going to see if I can manipulate this into a yes. I know you brothers and sisters. I've been there, done it. I've been told I don't want to get in a relationship with you, and I said, you just ain't been Gina. I'll get you in one. Boy, what a mess I made for myself. A friend is someone who can say no to us and can embrace the boundaries of the friendship. A friend is one that is able to reconcile their own difficulties in a mature way and to move on in the relationship. A friendship has to reconcile, and it does no good when you keep a scorecard. One of the scorecards I fight the most is the Hallmark scorecard. Christmas I got a Hallmark. Should I send one? You know what I mean? Somebody gave me a gift, now I have to give them a gift. My mother used to drive herself nuts over that. So I want to tell you that there's something that comes before friendship. There's something that comes before relationship. What comes there is that we must consult God. We must consult God if this is where we go. It doesn't mean you walk in and try to make it, God's will. Usually a couple gets together, they think they're going to stay together, then they come in here and say, God, it's right this time. I know. So they want to come to God so that we can slide in and say, I think we're going to need you in our relationship now. I'm seeing that start to change, brothers and sisters. I'm seeing people of faith coming in and people of faith. That they're coming in with a faith basis from the beginning. That is so hopeful. You're fortunate. I know this sounds kind of brass, but you are fortunate. You have two pastors in long-term relationships with their spouses. It will not be necessary for any one of you to fix our relationship. It will not be necessary for any of you to feel like you need to just service, although you could be kind in it. But I'm telling you, we know what we need to do. That's so good for the church. Because we're not wasted all the time trying to get the relationships back together, which will bring us stability now that we have men couples with women that will change the whole bar for this church. It is a turnaround time. It is a time in which we can say, we can go where you want to go because we have leadership that are building a very intimate, close relationship that you can't go to Ricky against me. Try it. It ain't going to work. Amen. We already